hand wiring and programming QMK firmware keyboard. So what you gotta do first, I gotta jump start here. First you gotta get, somebody else made this one, but some kind of enclosure, right? Whoa, it's made. There's your Pro Micro. Gonna need that. This is a brand new one. Get your key switches in. Wire it up. So you gotta make a matrix with diodes. You got, where's that? Now I'm a professional. So, columns 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the first row I've already soldered on. The rows are post diode for anti-ghosting and shit, but this will be row number 0 in a second. You can get that wired up. Alright, that row's in. So, now that we got all those, holy shit, diodes and things, and rows and columns, they gotta go here. So we have a scale model. It's bigger. Everything below here. So everything above there is like your inputs reset, or your voltage input reset. Ground. So I can use any of these pins down here. Some of them are analog. I don't really care right now. Oh, that's those. That says A0, 1, 2, 3. So I have to choose which columns go to which pins. Pretty arbitrary. So I think I'm gonna do, oh, what was that LED pin? I think it's 3. There's one you don't want to use. Anyway, I'm probably just gonna do 1, 2, 3, 4 columns. 1, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's totally arbitrary. You can change it in the code, in the software. Ooh. So yeah, we'll do 4 columns and 2 rows. I like that. Because this is all hand wired. I'll just have to set this guy in here and figure out how long of wires I'm gonna need when that sits like that. And then probably long enough to be able to take it out. So I gotta add LEDs eventually. I still don't know how that works, so we'll see. So I'm gonna solder these wires to there. Okay then. That should be all the wiring we need. Besides LEDs, but so you can see, just as I said I would do, it's wired, and you just tap these wherever on the wire, past the diode, of course, but yeah, so then this will tuck in something like that. So I'm going to do that and plug it in the computer, and then we can do QMK setup, which is probably more difficult than this. So, to do QMK setup, you have to clone this QMK repo from Git. You can just look it up, it's the only one. But yeah, once you clone it down, you have all these files. So first thing you gotta do, if I remember, is new project script, run that. You have to call it something and tell it what type of microcontroller it is. So Macroman is the name, AVR means it's an Arduino Pro Micro, and then it should have made a new keyboard folder for us, which is good because it did. So once we have that, I don't know what all those said errors are. It doesn't fucking matter. Apparently, it's never caused me problems. So, but yeah, once we're in here, we can start doing setup stuff. So this config.h has almost everything in it. Certainly a good starting point. You can do this cool stuff where you tell it, well, these are like the, when you plug a keyboard in and it says Logitech, this is like the field that's set there. So you can set it to whatever you want. And it'll show up like in Windows or in Linux or whatever when you get a device descriptor. So, probably not the right word. Anyway, this keyboard that we just wired has 2 rows, 4 columns, easy enough. You just set that. And then you gotta set what pins they're on. So, this is the chart that you need for that. You might get one like this. That's not gonna be very useful. You need this one because the pin numbers that QMK wants to see is this column, but without the P. So that's great, right? So I did, if you remember my model there, I did these 4 for columns and these 2 for rows. So for rows I need B6 and B2, and in order. The order does matter here, so B6 and B2, and then columns were D7, E6, B4, and B5. D7, E6, B4, B4, B5. Did I have that backwards? No, it's just not in order because these names are awesome. So yeah, so then we have those. That's just telling it which wires we solder them onto, which pins. Diode direction, call to row is what I did when I wired it, where the column is the input of the diode and the row is the output, or the whatever the real word for those is. So I think that's all we need to do in here. There's 1,000 options in QMK, but just for a simple keyboard, we don't need them. So that should be good. We'll write that out. In your .h file for your keyboard, there's this layout thing. Layout definition, preprocessor, macro. This will make a lot more sense after we look at the key map. So, key maps, default, keymap.c. So there's this key maps matrix that you have to populate. These are the key codes that all the keys are going to do, so like A1H, tab, space, blah, blah, blah. But it uses this layout function macro. So in this case, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in just a list. They are kind of staggered like this, because I guess the example has 3 in the top row, 2 in the bottom row. So this is meant to visually look like your keyboard in this file. So then, when we go back to, what was it, .h, there we go. So this is that list as an input and as an output. So it just kind of maps it. So then in this case, K0, K10, we're on the same column. K1 is the only thing in this column. KC no is a like a no op key code, so it just doesn't do anything. And then the last column is these two. So if I want to change this, because I have 2 rows, 4 columns, I'll stop it. It's great when your spaces don't line up with theirs. So I'm just going to do KO4, KO5, KO6, KO7, like that, instead of their weird layout. Because that's how I want it to visually look, right? I have the 2 rows of 4 keys. So mine is going to be really simple one-to-one mapping, like that. The row 0 has those keys, KO4, KO5, KO6, KO7, and row 2 has those keys in their respective columns. Order does matter in the output here. So cool, that's good. And then if I go back to key maps, then I can put my key codes based on that layout function. So let's say, for example, I just want it to do the numbers 1 through 8. These KC whatever are just macros that are defined somewhere else. There's a list of them out there somewhere. KC5, KC6, KC7, KC8. So that should do it. That should give me 1 through 8 on my keyboard. Other than that, I think that's all we need to do to make a basic key map. And set up, obviously we set up the rows and column pins and everything. So I think with that, we should be able to plug it in and build it and flash it and be good to go. Okay, so I'm not going to solder a button on right now, but we can see, can I see? The reset pin, that's blurry. There's the reset, there's ground. To reset you just short reset to ground. So I'm going to use this this little jumper thing. It's soldered together so I can reset it. I wish I could focus this. Anyway, so the process then, once you have your successful build, is that you make it the easiest way, I suppose. You can flash it other ways, but make it with this :AVR option on the end, and then it will ask you to reset your microcontroller, and it'll do a little dance. So I'm going to get ready. It's kind of a whole thing to hold. It's better with a button, but I'm going to run this. It gives you no rule to make target. Uh-oh. What have I done? Hold on. Yeah, just kidding. It's AVR dude. Yeah. Do that. It'll say reset it now, so I will do that, and then it says it found it, connects to programmer, does all that good stuff. Done, thank you. Okay, so I will put this back in the box. Okay, so put back together. We come to the visible area here. Okay. Come on. You can do better than that, right? Anyway, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9. Because apparently I mistyped it. But yeah. that's the basic concept. You can go into all sorts of layers and stuff, but for now it types letters. So if any of these were the other keyboard I made with this, caps lock just works. You can define, I think, the caps lock LED pin, which I didn't do yet on that one. But yeah, caps lock and your modifiers all seem to just work when you tell it to be shift key code in keymap.c. So it's pretty cool, and it's not that hard once you figure out all the files you need to touch. So there you go. Now I can make this do all kinds of dumb stuff.